Sadie Engelhardt, welcome to the call room, Road to Seattle. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Doing really good. My first question for you that I'm curious to hear about, how's the weather in California? I ask you this every time. I think it's because I try to live vicariously through you with Ohio's bad weather.
Yeah, I mean, it's always pretty much 60 to 70, so it's a little bit colder in the mornings. But yeah, it'll get up there around like 3, so right when I'm working out. But
Last time we talked was really cool because it was right after the New Balance Indoor National Mile. We were recapping a lot of your indoor season, and then I feel like you've been on a tear ever since then. And I think I closed out that
thank you.
conversation by saying, like, you'll be on the podcast soon and probably recapping some absolutely insane things. I did mention this in last episode because I feel like every episode we do talk about that national record in the mile. How full circle is it to finally have it after literally years of talking about it and even on this podcast publicly talking about how much you want it?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely. I feel like the first emotion that I felt was just relief. When I crossed the line, I think um, there's so many people that have been helping me get there too that were all there, so it was just awesome. All my family, all my teammates, um, and yeah, it was super fun. And then the next day we went and ran DMR, which was also super fun. But it was a good weekend.
So when I talked to you a few weeks ago, or maybe probably a little over a month at this point, it was between the indoor season and outdoor season. And that weekend that we talked, you were running the Sound Running Women's Pro 1500-meter race. As a junior in high school, you beat a bunch of professional runners. You ran 4:09. What was it like to set the tone of your outdoor season on such a high note and beating so many accomplished runners?
Yeah, it was great. Going up or going in or leading into that race, my coaches had told me like I could potentially win that, which was kind of like not that hadn't been my idea of the race. Just because every time I've run a pro race, it's been I literally go straight to the back and hang on. Um, so yeah, it was definitely different. I think once I was like, I mean, it was really strange. I was like extremely calm, going on that line, and really confident, which was a huge switch. I feel like from nationals, I was super nervous, like for no reason. I don't know, but that's the first time I ever gotten that nervous. So yeah, going up to the 10, I just felt like super calm, and yeah, once that like lead switch happened, I guess, um, from me to the front, after the pacer had dropped off, I kind of like tried to stay within myself, focus on my own effort. Um, and yeah, I knew they were going to come up on the last lap because the pace wasn't too hot. So I just told myself like whenever they, come up on my shoulder, go with them. And that's what happened. So yeah, I was very happy with that. Nice little 2-second PR. So yeah, I think it started off well, the outdoor season.
You mentioned to me you did this at Sound Runnings, the 10, which if people watch that race, follow that event, they know the whole focus is people trying to get the US and Olympic standard in the 10K. And I feel like all the other races, I don't want to say no one cares about, but no one talks about. Like the 10Ks are totally people's
Yeah.
focus. Was it nice to run a professional race where there wasn't too much focus or pressure on you or really anyone else in those races?
Yeah.
Just because the whole point, I mean, it's literally called the 10. Like it is an event
Yeah.
for 10Ks. Did it feel nice to do something that wasn't as high pressure and high stake?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I wasn't like as nervous as when I do high school races. Uh, just because like I feel like there's nothing that can go wrong like in any scenario unless I fall. But like I'm literally running with pros, so like there's like no pressure on me. And so yeah, especially just because the 10, I feel like it was such a good environment. It wasn't too crazy. Like yeah, I went to like earlier this uh, year, I went to BU a couple times, and that gave me so much anxiety just because everyone's like screaming. There's like literally like 1,000 people in the thing. Actually, I don't even know, but it felt like 1,000. Um, and yeah, it was just definitely a good switch. I feel like it was very calm. It was like classic California weather, at sunset, and, yeah, it was great. There was, like, no pressure at all, which was nice.
I think in almost every single high school race, even in the national ones, you lead from gun to tape and you don't really have much competition, and it is purely a race against the clock. Despite running a 2-second PR, so there was some focus on time. Maybe you ran fast. Was it nice to open up your season in a way in which you had some competition? You could work on some of the tactics that you might have to practice later on in the season for your first race, rather than just a classic time trial setting.
Yeah, for sure. I think also just the only time that I really run pro races is after the whole season. So it was nice to like get that mark faster basically than I had been at the end of, my previous season. So it was nice to know that I was already ahead of where I was in like June. So yeah, I was very happy with that performance.
As I mentioned a minute ago, the record's been on your mind for a while, and there have been a ton of mile races that you've done over the past 3 years that you've gone in with the intent of running as fast as possible. What felt different about the Mount SAC race going into the mile compared to other ones over the past few years?
Yeah. Yeah, I was once again like super calm and confident on the line. I think the only reason that I wanted to run Mount SAC was to get the record, just because I felt like Arcadia didn't go as planned. I felt like I really wanted to win, so I was just a little bit scared to go and push myself in the middle because I knew Jane's obviously an incredible runner, and Addie as well, and I didn't want to risk that win basically, and so I kind of found myself holding back a little bit, and so yeah, going to Mount SAC, I was like, there's literally no reason to hold back. My coach told me like, even if you like die on the last lap, you have to like go for it that third lap. And so it was literally just like, for me, it was like kind of a training mentality. Like I had to hit those splits. And yeah, I had coaches at either 200, shouting splits. So that helped too. And yeah, it didn't feel, the only like, I'd say difference from other races is just like, it kind of felt more like, training or a time trial. But yeah, it was super fun. It definitely, yeah. And my teammates too were in that race. So it like kind of amplified the feeling of, training as well. But yeah, it was fun. We got to celebrate after.
I believe there have been a few mile races over the past few years that you've been on pace through 800 and then you fall off a little bit. Was there a point in this race that you can recollect on that you mentally thought, oh, I probably have this in the bag? Like, yes, I still have to push, but like
Yeah.
Today might be the
day. Yeah, I think so every time I kind of like memorize the splits, like even at 200. Just like I watched previous races, saw where it was at, like 600, 1,000, stuff like that. And every time it was, I guess like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds faster than where I had been at in previous races. So that kind of gave me a lot of confidence, just knowing that I was on. And then going into that last lap, I was like, I have to run a 72 right now to not get the record. So I was like, that's not happening. Even though I ran 70, so it was kind of close. But I honestly kind of wish I didn't see that clock like going into the last lap, because I felt like once I saw it, I was like, I'm good. But yeah, I feel like, because if I ran another like 68, I think I would have been under 430, which would have been cool. But yeah, you can't be mad with the national record.
So in that race, you ran 429.86 for the 1600 split, which was a national record, as well as the bigger thing, which was 431.72, also the U.S. high school girls outdoor mile record. When did you like, I'm assuming you knew you had it when you crossed the line, but at what point did it set in? You saw the time. What were the feelings and emotions like?
Yeah, I think honestly, it sounds weird, but like it hasn't really set in yet. It kind of just feels like, I've run another race. But yeah, I think it was weird because I felt like there would have been more, feelings of like, wow, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like I've been at that like range for so long that it's like, I don't know, I feel like I could have, I don't know, gone a little bit faster. That was my first like thoughts. Like I was like, oh, I could have gone under 4:30, but um yeah, I think now it's like starting to set in like that's actually a national record. Um that's what I have to tell myself, and yeah, I think I'm definitely happy with it. Yeah, like you said, that's been a goal for, I guess, like even since I was in 8th grade. I was like, I'm already like 10 seconds away. I got it. But yeah, I'm very happy about it.
I think a lot of listeners are probably thinking to themselves, like, what? She thought, like, that was her first thought. She, like, didn't fully appreciate it.
I
My
know.
thought is, do you think that's what makes you so good? Is that constant strive towards greatness and towards more? And, like, almost like if you had the opposite mindset of, like, fully appreciating things as healthy as that can be, maybe you'd be stuck in the 440s because after every race, you'd be
Yeah,
like, it was cool. I'm super happy with it rather than, like,
yeah,
constantly striving and pushing for more, which who knows, might lead
yeah.
to the 14s one day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's every race. Every race, I'm like, obviously could should would have should have could have, but um, I'm always like, yeah, I could have gone faster, like in this like certain point in the race. Um, so yeah, I do think that's like kind of just my personality, and I think that that does add to why I've been consistent, just because I always do want more. Um, and yeah, I think I'm just ambitious. And I think that was also like something with like picking colleges. That's like what my coaches have told me. Like your work ethic is gonna go with you, wherever you go. So, um, yeah, I think that's just who I am. But yeah, I think it does contribute a little bit to the success.
Speaking of college, you're a junior in high school. For those that don't know, you recently committed to NC State a few months ago, which we talked about the last time we did a podcast with each other. People are more interested about hearing your process of deciding on that school. But speaking on the NCAA for a second, even though you are a little less than 2 years out from it,
Uh-huh.
it's still worth, I feel like, speaking on, because high school running, I feel like, has never been faster. But specifically when I think of NCAA running, I actually think of the women's mile, where I swear I see every week on Instagram someone split or ran like a low 420. And I saw Maya
Yeah,
Ramsden split the DMR at Penn Relays like 422, which is just ridiculous, absolutely
yeah,
unbelievable. And I've had the privilege of having her on the podcast a few times. Awesome person. What's your perspective on that and thinking and getting excited to being in a whole new level and being
yeah,
pushed by those people? Because ultimately, like, I have no doubt you can run faster than 431, but at a point you do need some people to help push you along. And I feel like that's why we're seeing
yeah.
so many people run fast in the NCAA women's miles, just because like everyone's doing it.
Right. Yeah, I think obviously Maya's crazy. I think her progression um has been super crazy. Just kind of, I guess her breakout race, I think, was last NCAA's outdoor. Um, but yeah, it's definitely like setting the bar, I think. And when one person does it, it's kind of just like everyone thinks it's possible now. And just that, yeah, I think it was like 421 her split in the, I think it was DMR, which is insane. But yeah, I think it just shows that, you know, a couple girls could probably get close to that. Um, and yeah, it definitely, for me at least, like it kind of gives me like, oh, maybe I could be, that's where I want to be. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely pushing other girls to do better.
So a lot of people, I would think, they set a national record, and the average person would think, celebrate with some food, some ice cream, go to bed, kick up the legs the next day, maybe even take the day off. You say, nah, I mean, you probably eat food, but nah, I'm good. I'm gonna run another
Yeah,
race the next day. I'm gonna get two national records in the same meet. So
yeah,
you guys ran, I think, 11:21.85, which was another national record. And you yourself were the anchor leg. You split 4:33. What was it like to come back to back, have that individual mark, even though you did it with teammates in the race, but then come back and contribute to your school and do it with three other people?
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, we're all super close. So, um, I just really wanted to. Yeah, they asked me if I wanted to run the DMR. I was like, yeah, like yes, I want to run it for my girls, and I think it's just honestly, I had more fun, I'd say, than my individual mile. Um, but yeah, I think our coaches had put it in our head a little bit um, that we could get that record, but none of us were like, you know, that's like, that's just like dream goal basically. Because we didn't, I don't think we even knew like the splits that we needed to get that record. But then I think just starting out, you could see like all of the girls had a good race. So I think like um, Alo, our 800 girl, or she's yeah, our 800 leg PR'd, and then like Melanie, our first leg PR'd, and then our 400 leg ran a 54, which is a 2-second PR from anything she's ever done um in like an open 400. So I was like,
Talk about
I mean,
clutching
I didn't
up.
hear that like yeah, seriously. I didn't hear that. Like I didn't hear the splits before. But just after hearing like what they did, I was like, and that's why we got it because they all like clutched up. Um but yeah, it was super fun, and obviously that last leg hurt a lot. But uh I'm glad it could be low 430s again. Yeah.
Were any coaches yelling at you in the middle of your mile or maybe like right before it that like, hey, if you run fast, like we can get the record, or hey, you need a two whatever last 800 to get it, or was it just purely
Uh-huh.
running and then you found out
Yeah.
after?
Yeah, the last or so the announcer uh used to be a coach for Ventura. So he was like basically like coaching us like through the whole thing. Which was super cool. But um yeah, I ran a 217 first 800. He was like, you got to be back here in another 2 minutes and 17 seconds, blah blah. And then he said like, I need to, on the last lap he was like, you have to get a 67 or lower. um I actually didn't hear that, but I just felt, I don't know, like I guess that's like just fate at that point. Like I didn't know to like pick it up or anything. But I guess I ran like a 66. Um so yeah, it was crazy. It was awesome. Just to like celebrate with a team, I feel like means, I mean, not more, but it's just more exciting. Um yeah, and I think yeah, that it was just a great day. And we got, I think the, you said food. The night before I had like Chick-fil-A, and then we like woke up like bright and early and we're like, time to go again. And then we went and got I think like some other fast food. But yeah, good weekend.
Hey, Chick-fil-A executives, you never know. NIL deal on the way. Who knows?
Yeah,
Honestly, that
seriously.
would be, if I was a high school or college athlete, Chick-fil-A would be up there in my opinion for
Yeah.
top NIL deals. So good. So good.
Yeah, and all the basketball people do like canes and stuff, so I think it's possible. But we
Yeah,
just need to
Chick-fil-A is
get
superior
more
to Cane's. I don't know if that'll
exposure.
get me hate, but Chick-fil-A
Oh
sauce,
wow.
so much better than Cane's sauce. Chick-fil-A chicken, so much better
Okay.
than Cane's chicken. I don't know. What's your take? Is this a hot take?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know, because Canes is like, we have one near us, so it's like if we go, it's like special. So I'm like, I don't, but Chick-fil-A, it's just like always there for us. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
see,
and I
Chick-fil-A
have
is
my
always
own
there
like
for you. You gotta respect
yeah,
it.
I have, I have my own Chick-fil-A sauce, like the 8 ounce thing in
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
um fridge. So I guess I'm gonna go with Chick-fil-A, but they're close.
My two older brothers used to work at Chick-fil-A, and this was before they
Uh-huh.
sold those bottles of sauce. And so they would come home from their shift every day and with like 5 new sauces. And it got to the point where like in our family pantry was just like the most massive tub of Chick-fil-A sauce
Oh my
because
God.
we were all addicted.
Yeah,
So
that's my friend's pantry looks exactly like that.
yeah.
It's so good. I don't even know what's in it. It's like I don't know how they make it, but it's just like smoky. It's so good. Um, but yeah, definitely a good post race meal.
I do want to ask you on the fast food line because this is a hot topic in, I think, California circles. Like people outside of California Circle with people inside California Circle. And then when I lived in Austin, it was there and I never went, which I honestly highly regret because I wanted to have a take on it. What's your take on In-N-Out? I hear all sorts of takes on it.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm from originally, like, I lived in Massachusetts for like 9 years, 10 years. Um, so like going to In-N-Out, because we visited California every year, so going to In-N-Out was like my dream, basically. And so I think just with that, I think first of all, I love In-N-Out, like I'll eat In-N-Out whenever. Um, but yeah, I'd say it's not like super overhyped. It's literally just like I feel like after games, like football games, will like I feel like that's everyone's go-to. Um, so it's just like it's just reliable and it's also really good. So yeah, I'd say it's like top three fast food for me. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out, you can only have one.
I'm gonna say In-N-Out because it's just an OG. It's like that's what I've liked since I was, little. So I'm gonna say In-N-Out. But that would be so hard. I would crave Chick-fil-A just like yeah, I don't know. I love both of them.
Fun fact. When we were driving down to Florida like years ago, we passed through Atlanta, and the Atlanta location, or like right outside of Atlanta, is where Chick-fil-A originated, and it's called like the Dwarf House.
Oh, okay.
It's like the OG
Uh-huh.
Chick-fil-A, first one ever, and they actually make burgers there. So I think you got to go to that one and then compare a Chick-fil-A burger to
Oh,
an
there you
In-N-Out.
go.
But I hate the idea of Chick-fil-A
Get the
having a
best of
burger.
both
Like
worlds.
I wouldn't even want to try it. I'd be like, I don't want this to taint your
But
reputation if it's
they can
bad.
make that so good. Think about that. They could put their waffle fries on the burger
Ooh,
with their sauce and like the cheese. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I like your
I
thinking.
think I'd pick that.
I like your thinking. Hey, if you have a college race,
This is not good. People are gonna like come at me for eating fast food.
I was gonna say, Georgia Tech in the same conference as NC State? No. Yes.
Oh, I thought they were SEC.
No, there's no way Georgia Tech is SEC. Let me look this up real quick. Okay. I look up Georgia Tech conference. It comes up Georgia Tech Hotel and Conference Center. Not that.
Okay, well,
Yeah, they're in the ACC. Okay, so my
oh,
thinking is,
ACC?
yeah. So if you have a track race down there, you can hit it up and we'll talk about it on a
Then I
podcast.
can get the
The
burger.
burger. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
I do want to
I'll
ask you
plan on
this.
it. I'll tell the
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'll
Go
tell the
ahead.
girls too. They'll probably be down.
I do want to ask you before we start talking about Brooks. I feel like you are the queen of the mile, not just in terms of winning every time you step on the line, running fast times, but you run it all the time, like all the freaking time. I want to ask you, will we see Sadie Engelhardt in like an 8 and a 32? When are we going to see you throw down some other crazy times?
So
5K on the track? You probably would never, but
yeah, so we're thinking for Brooks actually, we're thinking of doing the 8. I just asked like the kind of director, putting people in different races and I think I'm waiting to hear back, but I asked her to be in the 8. So if it's not the 8, then it's the mile, but yeah, I think it would be really fun to run the 8. I think I've never run an 8 against Allie. So that would be pretty interesting, I feel like. But yeah, I feel like it'll be a fast time, especially in the 8, just because Ellie goes for it like every single time. But yeah.
So is that the next race that would be like a non-mile just because of how long the California postseason is? Are you just like mile every weekend, basically?
Yeah, so I have the 1600 starting this week. I have the 1600 every week until like May 20 something. I want to say like 25th maybe, or 29th. And then I have, so before Brooks, I have I'm going to Music City Distance Carnival to run the 1500 to try and get a little bit closer to that Olympic trials qualifier. And I'm gonna do, and then if that doesn't work out, we have like 2 tries to basically get that. And then I'm going to PTF, so Portland Track Festival, a week later. And then Brooks right after that. So the Brooks would be the 800s. So 2 1500s and then the 800 right after that. And then, yeah, back to, I think, New Balance. We're going to possibly run the DMR. I think we talked about that. And then the mile as well. So then that'll be it with like high school stuff. And then, yeah, we'll see if I get into the trials. That would be great. But, and then after that, that would be the end of my season.
It's so crazy to think you're a junior. I was like, then back to cross, back to cross senior year. So crazy. You're only a junior.
No.
I always forget about it. So in
No.
relation to the California State Series, I know last year's state, is it the 16 or the mile? What do you guys run?
It's a 16.
I know last year for the 16, you like really went after it. Is that something you're looking to do? Or because you have all these big races and chasing times and titles, is it more just like, I'm going to do the least minimal work to win this?
Yeah, I mean, last year I had no plan of doing that. I really wanted to like save myself for the 800 because Mackenzie Brown was in that. She had run 2:03 that year. So I was like really trying to take the mile easy. So, and then that happened. So I honestly don't know. Like, I think it just depends on the day, like how I feel. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going for it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was just fun to like go for it at the state meet. The state meet's like the best environment. And everyone goes crazy if like, there's a lead like that. And I think that was pretty fun. But yeah, we'll see. I guess it depends how I'm feeling on the day.
Before I talk about Brooks this year, I'm so excited to ask you about the 8 and your thoughts on that if you do get into it. I want to ask you about your freshman and sophomore year. So you'll be going for your third year in a row, 3 for 3. When was the first time you heard of the Brooks PR meet, and what was it like getting an invitation your freshman year?
Yeah, I heard of it. I want to say my 8th grade year. I was kind of mad that I couldn't run it. I don't think they had the like middle school section yet. So yeah, I was just like kind of upset because I wanted to, like, I was watching them. I was like, damn, like I want to be in this. But yeah, I think that's the first time I heard of Brooks. And then the next year, I got the invite, which was super exciting. And they sent me that box, and I'm not sure what my freshman year it was. Either space or maybe that was last year. But yeah, it was super cool. Brooks is like such an awesome event. I think more like honestly, like aside from racing, it's just like meeting people. It's just so fun. I think we had a little too much fun the last night, but yeah, it was super fun both times.
The first year you ran the mile, and I think you gave Juliet Whitaker a run for her money. Take me through that race.
Yeah, I remember I was so nervous for that one. And yeah, I think I took it out, and I was just leading the whole thing, and it was like kind of a slow pace. I think it was around like, because we'd all run like 4:35 ish, and so it was around like 70s or like 71s. But it was super consistent, and then I kind of knew that people would try to go around me, and like pick it up basically going into the last lap. So I think we ended up running like a 63 last lap. And it came down to that final kick. And obviously Juliet with her 800 speed is like incredible. I can't, it's just like she whizzes by you. But yeah, it was definitely, I was happy with that, I think, especially the 63 close. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
The next year, your sophomore year, so last year, you entered into the 32. I know you were dealing with a foot issue, so probably not the best memory of that race. What was that one like?
No. Yeah, so it was a very strange race. I think first of all, mentally, I wasn't all there. Racing a 2 mile that late in the season for me was kind of just like, what? Like 8 laps is a little too much. But yeah, I think and also like all my training was like strictly mile 800 training. And then we threw in like one 3,200 workout the week before, or like 10 days before or something like that. And it didn't go great. It kind of obviously like it's a different hurt, I think, that those type of workouts. Um, and I don't think I was prepared for that basically. Um, but yeah, we started it out, and I think we went through the first lap. It was like close to 120, so like 5:20, 10:40 pace. Um, and I was just like, okay, like, and obviously I had been anticipating like Ellie Shea being up there, and yeah, like Leah Stevens. And then I forget. There was a girl from Colorado who went sub 10 as well. There were so many sub 10s basically. Sophia Kennedy, I'm pretty sure. Um, and yeah, we went through that first lap, and strangely, I was like dying a little, like going 120. So that's when I was kind of like, oh god. And then we started to pick it up, and I kind of just got in my head. Honestly, I think I wasn't feeling good. I had doubts about my foot for sure. Like I'm pretty sure I had tendonitis in like the top of my foot, um, just because like basically when I race a lot, I think I tied my spikes too tight. Like I don't know, or something like that. But yeah, I think it was around like we went through the mile in like 4:50 something. So we had like significantly picked it up from 5:20 pace. And I think like I just like from the minute the gun went off, I was just not in it. Like, and it was weird because I felt like I was in a horrible position the whole race. And like I texted or I talked to my dad afterwards, texted my coaches, and um, they were like, "We thought you were doing good. Like you were in a great place, but I just wasn't used to being, in the pack, and so I thought I was doing bad. And then all the things like piled up, and then I could feel my foot, but honestly, like it wasn't a huge factor. I could have finished the race, um, and yeah, it was just a not there for me that day. But stuff like that happens for sure. Um, I just hope like in the future I'll be able to finish a race because I hate dropping out. It's a horrible feeling. But yeah, I think definitely not my day, but I think the kind of activities at Brooks afterwards made up for that, like the boat, and we jumped in the lake. We're not supposed to do that, but it was so fun. And yeah, it was just I feel like it was like a bittersweet day.
I think it's awesome for you to admit that and talk to that, because I'm sure there are kids who have dropped out for similar reasons in the past and beat themselves up because of the reasons. And if a national record holder can admit to it and say it's okay and move on, like you can too. Can you speak to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
importance of being honest, and also like being okay with not being okay every single race
yeah,
and giving yourself the
yeah,
grace to drop out? And also too, like I saw that because I was with you the rest of the day, like you didn't it didn't a lot of people when they have a bad race or when they drop out, it like clouds the rest of their day and the rest of their space, and they
yeah,
can't move on, and then their next race is affected because of their previous race. You ended up having a
yeah,
great race like a few days later, and I think in big part
yeah.
was because you were able to move on and have fun and forget about it. Could you just speak to the aspect of being okay with not having every race be great, and also like the ability to move on and realize that running is just a silly activity that you do. You run around in laps as fast as you can, and some days
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
have it.
seriously. Yeah. Yeah, I think, and not like I did definitely have my moments where I was, frustrated, and upset, talking to my parents, talking to my coaches. But honestly, it's just so much like I found myself like wanting to say like it was my foot, like to my parents and to my coaches, but it just honestly helps to be honest with yourself, because they're only there to help you. Um, and so when I told them it was more kind of like mental, a little bit of physical, just because I wasn't really prepared, um, they did things to help me. So I mean, it could only turn out well in your favor if you are honest with the people that are supporting you. Um, and I think yeah, it was just I mean for me like bad races. I mean I've been racing for I want to say like 5 years, or 6 years, and there have been so many bad races. It's just like it's just like literally something you have to hit on your way to you know your breakouts. And I think that was a big part last year. I think last year I was super stagnant throughout the whole season. I had these like really ambitious goals, and I just was, a second back or 2 seconds back. And so I think like that whole experience kind of prepared me for, not even just like having bad races, having bad, seasons. That I never really, and not, it wasn't a bad season, but it was not where I wanted it to be. And so, and I think those seasons honestly just push me more. Like I said, just with my personality, like when I, want to go for something, I'm not gonna, just give up if I'm not, if I'm not there, in a season. So I think it really lit a fire under me. And yeah, I think that's partly why the season has been really good. It's just, I've had those like mental hardships, physically, like I don't know what was happening. Something was happening physically last year, just changing, I guess. But yeah, I think all of that prepared me for this season. I think that's why it's going well.
We'll talk about Brooks PR this year as if you're going to run the 800. The storyline is clearly then you versus Allie Ince, who has won 3 times in a row. She's been on this podcast series. She talked about her mindset going into this year, trying to go for a 4-peat, go for 4 golden spikes. For you, like, you're super nice. Allie's the nicest person in the world. I don't want to start beef.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, Sadie, I watch you race, and the minute you step on the track, you are like cold-blooded, face goes serious. There are no friends on the track. Would you view, I mean, she is going to be like the fan favorite. People are going to talk about it. People are probably going to cheer for her because it hasn't been done before. Would you feel like a little bit of a party pooper standing on the track, being a little bit of the villain, some Connor Burns energy?
Oh my gosh, Connor Burns energy. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I don't know. I think it's just going to be a good race. And yeah, obviously Allie's super nice. But I think also she turns into like a very intense, I think we're both kind of like that. But yeah, it would be cool to win. I think it would be cool for her to win 4 times. I think either way, I would want to run a fast time. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a good race. I think it'll be a good race.
Obviously, if you do, regardless of any race you enter, whether it's a 200 or a 10K on the track, people are probably going to talk about it just because of your history of being successful on the track. But I'm thinking this through here. If you did the mile, people are going to throw out records. And, I probably would have asked you a different question of like, oh, do you want to, lower your national record, all that. Whereas the 8, you are kind of stepping into someone else's event because she has won 3 years in a row. Does that kind of make you feel better in terms of like, oh, there would be less pressure at Brooks PR?
Yeah, there's definitely, first of all, I feel like I run a lot of miles. So I think it would be good to switch it up just in the, back end of the season. I think that's like kind of where the speed shows the most. And yeah, I think there's not a whole lot of pressure on me because I think, she's made it clear that she wants to, win 4 times. So, I'm just kind of along for the ride, see what I can do. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, let me ask you this. I have mentioned you're a junior. Do you feel like a junior, or I feel like me and other people all talk about you like you're a senior just with how much you've accomplished. Is it weird to think that like, because I was legit going to ask you like, how do you feel last opportunity to win one of those golden spikes? And I was like, no, don't ask me. She's got another year.
I know that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely weird. I feel like that's what I get for, hopping in high school competition as an 8th grader. But yeah, I think, and it's funny because Coach Hennis and I sometimes joke like, I can graduate early, blah, blah, blah. But it's obviously like I want that senior year experience, even though it would be kind of cool to graduate early. Yeah, I think it's cool that I get, a whole nother year to kind of lower my PRs before I get to college. And kind of, I feel like right now, I'm not super, I feel like I'm not really like prepared for college. mentally. I think like I still like know that I have another year. Um, but yeah, I don't know. And I was sick the other day, and it was like fever, like the whole, flu situation. And I was like, how am I gonna be alone? Like having to deal with this sickness like in college, like there's no way. I need another year, like um, whatever. So I was like, I can't do this without my mom. Like I'm literally I'm gonna die. Um, but yeah, I think it's definitely weird to think that I have another year, but I've kind of gotten used to it. And I think it's definitely needed for sure.
Are you, I don't want to say like, are you grateful this season has gone so well, but I say that in the context of next year. Like, I feel like last year, because it didn't go to your expectations, you maybe felt a little more pressured this year, or it helped you reframe your mindset. With this year going so well, do you feel like it sets you up next year to just kind of run and see what you run, rather than like feeling like if you didn't get this national record, I know you'd still be thinking about it until the final race trying to get it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like some pressure is off of you going into that final senior year just with how well this year has gone?
Yeah, I think getting that mark for sure relieves some pressure. But yeah, I think honestly the main goal for next year is I just want to really try to dabble in every event, and lower those times in every single one. So um, yeah, definitely that the season is going super well. But I think it's not like I feel like freshman year when it was going well was kind of like defining me almost. And this year I think I'm a little more like grounded. I have a great group of girls to train with. I um, have a lot more like obviously like wisdom from previous years. Uh, so yeah, I think it's not like getting to my head for sure. I feel like freshman year definitely did. That's why I was super ambitious going into sophomore year. But um, yeah, yeah, I think I'm definitely more grounded for sure.
What would you say to someone listening today who's inspired by how far you've come in this sport and just how fast you've run? Maybe like a middle school girl listening who's like, I one day want to beat Sadie Engelhardt's records. Maybe not. Maybe you don't want to speak to them. Don't take the records. But what would some wisdom be to
Please
someone
don't.
to someone who looks up to you, and just like a final takeaway message from what we've talked about today?
No, yeah, I think yeah, that was definitely a joke. I want people to strive for those marks, but um, yeah, I think that's where it starts. I think that's where it started for me. Is I saw Caitlin Toohey running that 4:33, and that I was like, that's gonna be me. And so I think that's what I want people to kind of think, or I want their mindset to be like that. Um, and I think just like in terms of getting to where you want to be, obviously consistency is key, like everyone says, but definitely surround yourself with people that support you, and like basically however you're doing in a season, like they support you no matter what. Like if you're on kind of like a bad race streak, they're still like, you can get this next one, like you can get this next one. I think that's really key to getting to your goals. And yeah, I think it would be awesome if just like down the line, like think about like a couple girls breaking 4:30, or yeah, that would be great. Just to like kind of, I guess, like maybe me being college, and seeing that girls are running that fast, just to elevate the sport. I think um, this is a time where people are running like extremely fast, obviously because like the shoes and um, all the technology. So yeah, it would be super cool to look and see what girls can run the next years.
Sadie, it's that time of the podcast. I don't do this with any other guest, but it's kind of become a meme at this point where I ask you most impressive workout you've done recently, and then you pull out your phone and scramble
Oh man,
through something impressive. What's
wait.
something you've done recently that
Okay,
gave you confidence going
I
into
need
that
to
mile
look.
race or after the race?
Okay, this is okay. So it was 400. So one set was 400, 400, 800. And the next set was 400, 400, 600. And so for the first set, I went 67-1, 66-6, and then 213. And then I went 65-4, 66-2, and then 138-9. So
You're not human, Sadie.
my goal pace, that workout, we actually like got a little bit of input from Coach Hennis as well for that workout, just because she says like they do sometimes like 4-4-8 at goal pace. And there were 7 minutes rest in between those two big sets. So, and then I believe there was a minute in between each or rep. But yeah, I think like a big thing for me, like going into this track season, was just like we wanted to start out like at the pace, at my goal pace, and we're kind of a little bit faster. I want to like we're training at 66. Just because of the Olympic trials standard. But yeah, I think that pace has kind of like obviously gotten more familiar, and so that's why I think I'm able to do like 800s at 213 in practice and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that was definitely like, and there's another variation of that workout where I do 3, 8, 4 twice with like 7 minutes in between, and I think it's just gotten easier. So it's not easy, but it has gotten easier for the first time I've done that. So yeah, I'm proud of that workout. Any 800 at mile pace is definitely hard.
I was gonna say it's funny because I'm not in. No, I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty positive that 213 would win some state titles. And so it's hilarious you did that in the middle of a workout. But I guess that's what it takes to run a national record. So, Sadie, appreciate our conversation today. One final question on a lighter note to end our conversation today. Talking about Brooks, you've been 2 years before. What's a favorite moment from the past 2 years that you can share?
I have to say, oh gosh.
Say jumping.
I'd say the last. Yeah, I was gonna say jumping in the lake, but I already said that. So let's go with.
I feel like we discussed that on a previous podcast too, like a while back.
Yeah. No, we did. I think, and then like when we had to run from, I don't even know who it was. I don't know if it was Brooks people or like actual security, but they were chasing us, and then we had to go in the like bushes. And then someone jumped. I want to say it's like, yeah. Really? And we went through the side of the hotel, and it was like we had to like trek through the bushes, and like it was like we had to balance on this one thing to the front of the hotel. And then I think like Connor like jumped over a fence, and like the guy like knew that he like the Brooks guy or the security guy knew that he was there. He was just like watching him like jump over the fence and like just watching him like walk away. Yeah, I think that was funny. Definitely that last night. The last night was just super fun.
The cruise is always elite. I've only been once, but so much fun. So you tore it up on the dance floor. I feel like you were carrying.
Oh, thanks.
Well, you and the sprinters. You were carrying the distance.
Yeah. People. No, I seriously love the sprinters. Like they bring all the energy, and I literally like need that in my life. But it was super fun. We need to get more people on a dance floor this time.
This is the year. Because
people are shy. Yeah.
This is the year. We'll make it happen.
People are shy, Sadie. But honestly, like, yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, Sadie, appreciate the conversation. I will see you June 12th. Hopefully in an 800. Hopefully, if you need me to put in a good word, I do want to see this matchup happen. So fingers crossed. I'll see you in the 800. Keep crushing it, and I'm sure you'll do remarkable things in the weeks to come. So thanks again for the conversation.
Thanks, Dominic.